You're listening to In Session with Jael Keya, the space where healing hearts connect. It's another In Session with Jael Keya, the space where healing hearts connect. I know I shouldn't sing. Ugh. Anywho, hi, welcome to In Session with Jael Keya. The space where healing hearts connect. How are you? How is your heart? Thank you for joining me again on this episode. And today's topic might be a bit heavy, but you and I are going to walk through this. We're going to journey through this together. So, what's been happening in my life? I'm great. I'm good. Someone asked me from the last session that I should be updating y'all about my life. I'm doing well. I am grateful. I am feeling content. I am very peaceful. I am holding the peacefulness and the calmness while I'm also navigating the pain and disappointment and anger that comes with the collective national frustration from our leaders and how they're treating us as the citizens of this nation and how they are, for the most part, just failing at what they do. It's really unfortunate. So I'm holding those two truths together and I'm just allowing myself to sit with them. When I feel overwhelmed with the frustration, I sit with that. When I'm too peaceful, I allow myself to be grounded and centered in that. So yeah, that's how I am. You can let me know how you're doing in the comment section of this episode. So today we're talking about something that we all have gone through. Harambees, black tax, and what emotional labor is. And really, how is our mental health in relation to all those things? We're talking about the impact of this Harambe's black tax and the emotional labor that we carry for the people we love, for the people we live with, for the people we see, for the stories we hear, because there's vicarious trauma where you get to experience the same emotional, maybe not the same in severity, but the same in the sense of you can identify with when you watch things, when you interact with things on social media. What is the emotional labor that comes with that? So the side of generosity that nobody talks about is the emotional toll it takes on you. If you're like me, one morning you have found yourself, you've been added WhatsApp group where sometimes you don't even know who on earth are these people? Like, what are they even doing here? How do I even know them? So then you go to the group description of the WhatsApp, right? This is what I do. Go to the group description, see the people who are on your contact list, just so you can identify why am I here and what am I doing here. And then you somehow, if you're bold, you'll leave. If you're like me and used to have people pleasing tendencies, you will stay. You will stay and start being so frustrated at the fact that you've been added to a group and now there's nothing you can do. Anyway, thank God for WhatsApp because they've come up with a setting where you can restrict people from joining you into groups without your consent. But beyond that, if you've ever sent money home when you're struggling, if you've organized a fundraiser while you're barely sleeping, or found yourself carrying the weight of your entire family's well-being, this episode is yours. So let's get into it. I'll define some terms for you, not just for your understanding, but hopefully to validate the invisible load that so many of us carry. So what is black tax? It's a term borrowed from South Africa. That's where it originated from, right? It refers to the financial and emotional responsibility that many Black professionals support extended families. You don't have to be a professional, because sometimes when we say professionals, it sounds like the white collar jobs. It's many Black or Africans who have a job or a source of income, or basically you've just been born and then wamekufikisha shule, you finished, and now you're expected to support your families. They call it kujitolea kwa familia. Then there's the Harambe culture, beautiful in its communal spirit, yes? But it also comes with pressure to show up, contribute, and sacrifice, even when you're at your capacity. And sometimes you find yourself, maybe you're in 5 groups. Now, if you give 1,500 in those 5 groups, someone might think that, hey, that's kidogo monies. But in 5 groups, that's what? 7,500? That's a lot of money for someone. That's maybe even someone's rent. That's as much money that can sustain them in 2 months. And then there's finally emotional labor, the unseen effort of worrying for others, holding space, making things happen, carrying people's hope. All 3 can be powerful forms of love. Hey, don't get me wrong, but they can also come with a cost. There's a psychologist who studied these phenomenons. He's called Hochschild, who coined the term emotional labor. He explains it as constantly managing the emotions of others, especially in cultures where saying no is a taboo. And it often leads to chronic stress, resentment, and burnout. That's where when you see someone's call from home, you just don't want to pick it. That's resentment or burnout already at play. Black tax, as we mentioned in psychological terms, often triggers role strain and identity conflict. You want to succeed and thrive, but you're also tied to a collective identity that demands loyalty and sacrifice. This tension creates something we call cognitive dissonance. I know there's so many psychological words, but I want you to get it. I want you to know their names for it. I want you to know that this is not something in your head. So cognitive dissonance is where stress that comes from holding conflicting values. For example, I need to save money for my future, or you're pursuing a dream that requires money, and yet you also need, or you've been made to believe that, how can I say no to my sister when she needs school fees? Or how can I say no to my father when he needs medicine? Those are 2 conflicting values. 1, you need to save money for your future. 2, you need to send money home for your parents. There's a war in between your head. And sometimes even that war can just cause you exhaustion and pain and fatigue and resentment. So this back and forth often creates guilt, shame, and emotional fatigue, even depression in some cases. And the thing is, most of us never talk about it anyway. We say, ni kawaida, or at least niko na kazi, we try and minimize what it truly is. But inside, we're really crumbling. Let me paint for you a picture, You've just been paid. If your boss is nice, you've been paid before 28. If your boss is growing, gets you to the 5th or past of the next month. So you've just been paid. You had planned to buy a mattress or invest in a side hustle. You want to open something on the side because one income is never enough. Then your cousin calls. There's a Harambe. You're on the list. You try to say you're not okay, but the reply is, sisi hatukuwa na bahati kama wewe. We are depending on you. You're the one in the towns, the city. You are the one making money. So guilt comes in, identity comes in, dependency kicks in, and then you send the money. And then later you cry, you feel numb, you start to resent them, even though you love them. This is the emotional tax that nobody calculates. I wish Carrie could do that, but hey, that's why psychologists, therapists, that's what we get to do. Another example, you're the one organizing everything, the WhatsApp groups, the M-changas, the eulogy, and people say, you're so strong. But what they don't see is you haven't eaten, you haven't cried because you're on autopilot. This is emotional labor and it's exhausting. And I get it. There are moments where you must function because if you allow yourself to sit in that moment, you may break down and you are the only sober person in that space, and therefore you just have to carry yourself. How does it affect your mental health? The toll is real, guys. The toll is real. Chronic stress, because your brain never switches off. You're always calculating who needs what. I need to send this money. I need to send that money. How much money will I get? How can I make extra income? Not for you, but so that you can give other people. Compassion fatigue is another thing where even genuine loneliness starts to feel like a burden. You want to show up for people. Someone is crying. Someone has lost their family member. Someone has gone through a heartbreak or navigating transitions of life. You want to show in every space, and now there's nothing left in you. Compassion fatigue kicks in. Then there's loss of self, where you're so busy showing up for others, you forget who you are. And we see this often. I have also seen this with some of my clients, where their identity was so tied with what they used to do for others, that if you tell them to stop doing what they used to do for others, they go through a crisis, because now they don't know who they are. They're trying to understand who they are, but they truly can't fully comprehend. And the most painful part, we feel guilty for even thinking about boundaries. We tell ourselves we're being selfish. We gaslight ourselves into thinking that if we don't show up, then we're not being good daughters, we're not being good sons, we're not being kind friends. You can be kind and still have boundaries. But here's what you need to know. Love is not measured by how much you bleed for others. Let that sink in. Love is not measured by how much you bleed for others. Boundaries are not betrayal. And my personal favorite that I've told my clients, burnout is not a badge of honor. It is not. So what can we do? What can you do? We're not here to reject communities. We're not saying never add me to WhatsApp group. We're not saying don't call me when you need medicine and I'm in a position to help. We are here to heal on how we show up for them and for ourselves. So here are a few things that I would invite you to consider to incorporate in your life as you navigate your days forward. Start with emotional honesty. You can say after you receive the call, I really want to help, but right now I'm at a capacity and I really need to take care of myself. That's not being selfish. That's creating a sustainable love where you know when I'm not able to, I can communicate that. But when I'm able to, I will definitely show up. And that allows you to also refill your cup. That allows you to also pursue your dreams, right? You can also create a giving boundary. This is something I heard from Abel Mtua. He did an episode with Judy, his wife. They're talking about couples questions, and they covered a question on finances. And they said they have an X amount of money that they have allocated to their families. So if the family knows I can only borrow to this extent, and if I exceed the extent of the normal budget they have set for me, I just know that they're not going to get it. So each month you can give an X amount for emergencies. And once that is exceeded, you don't bleed if it's not a life or death situation. Because I promise you, if it's not you, someone else will show up for them if it's really important. So create a giving boundary. Decentralize emotional labor. You don't have to be the only one managing everyone. You can ask someone else to co-host, organize, or even check in on others. Even in friendships, if you have mutual friends, you can work around it. If you feel depleted, you can tell your friend X, please check on A. The last time I had a conversation with them, they were not okay, but I'm not in a position to, or I don't have the capacity right now to hold space for them. Make sure that you delegate. In that way, you ensure that they are not alone, and you also ensure that you're well taken care of. And of course, in this technological era, we have so many tools that you can use. Maximize on them. Budgeting apps. Have, if it's a WhatsApp group, rotate admins so that it reduces the emotional overload. You can use Excel sheets to track your monies, or you can also just walk around your friends and say, hey, after this, if your job is so involving, say after 2 months is when we can meet. You don't have to show up every weekend when you don't have that space. Let's also allow rest to be part of our culture. You're not just a helper, you're a human being. You're not a human doing. Someone said that. With a heart and a limit and a right to softness. So just remember that. Whether you are a breadwinner, a group admin, the emergency contact, the fixer of the group. I see you. I want to remind you, you deserve rest too. Your worth is not what you give, it's in who you are, even when you're not giving. As always, thank you for joining me in this conversation. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your thoughts. Thank you for being with me in session, the space where healing hearts connect. And of course, if this episode spoke to you, please share with your friends or someone whom you know who's carrying too much. Let them know they're not alone. Until next episode, please take care of your heart. I love you.
This has been In Session with Jael Keya. In Session with Jael Keya, the space where healing hearts connect. Hearts connect. Hearts